And we are live, folks. Hello and welcome to the weekly armchair kickoff. I'm your host, Darragh, once again, and just like United, we are back. And I'm glad to be joined by Stu, Dick, and for the first time, I am joined by Adam Matic. Adam, how are you, man?
I'm good, guys. How we doing? You okay?
All good, all good. We just had a slight error before we started, but we drive on. So, Stu, Dick, how are you today, guys?
Yeah, sound. Just back from footy, so a bit dishevelled, but apart from that, yeah, all good.
I was meant to go tonight, but my ankle was killing me, so I skipped tonight. Dick,
you can always play on a bad ankle, mate. It's no issue.
Yeah,
just drop it up. You're fine.
I said I'd take the week off for once anyway, but it is what it is. And Dick, with the ever graceful name of V115.
I thought it was apt for this weekend anyway, so just said we'd add it up, change it up today. So yeah, look, delighted to be here, lads. Looking forward to the weekend as much as we can.
Yeah, well, I'm staring out in rain. It's August. I mean, it's August. But anyway, I suppose we'll kick on and we'll start where we want to, really, Community Shield, where we actually want to be in the thick of it. And of course, back in May, we're playing against the 115. Now, here's the problem. Injuries. We'll start with the injuries because it is a vocal point in the squad right now, and it's more of a question of why are United getting hit with the injuries, and is it, I suppose we kind of touched on it there a couple of weeks ago, but now that it's kind of hitting home again, is it going to be a continuous thing of more injuries throughout the season, or are we going to see a turn around the corner? And Adam, I'll start with you on that one.
A straightforward answer to that, mate. Yeah, we're dealing with the same old shit as we was last season and the season before and the season before. Everyone who follows me on my show know I'm just going off on a bit of one earlier on. I literally just called out the back four, the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back four as well, which makes it even more embarrassing of Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. None of these players contributed anything apart from short at the latter stages of the Euros. They've all had full summer off. Tonight's been going on about recovery time in pre-season, giving players a chance. They've not kicked a ball in anger. And here we are, first game of the season, out injured. I was told privately to myself that Manchester United are actually covering something up with Luke Shaw. They don't want it to get out in public, but apparently he is injured. And I mean injured. And we could be facing the same old crap yet again. Like that's what he said, and he has been pretty much on the money with all injury updates around United. It's what's frustrating most Manchester United fans now. It's like you want to get behind players and support this team, but you cannot support what's never there. You can't support it, and that's the same old problem again. That's the first thing, like I said there, we're into Ten Hag's third year as a manager. We had the melee, which was Ranić and Carrick before that. And we are literally looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back four all being out injured for the start of Ten Hag's third season. There's so many issues in that statement right there alone. It tells you everything you need to know about where we're at right now and the problems that Ineos have got in particular, because I have been backing Ineos the whole way through this whole process. I understand the situation that they're in. They're about to find out the biggest problem at this football club. And that is what you just said there, mate. It is a case of more injuries. It's how many players have played hardly anything this summer and are injured? Like Højlund and Jorro to start it off, and now the usual suspects have joined them.
No, because I suppose I won't put anything on Højlund and Jorro simply because, well, Højlund was just a case of a freak accident, and Jorro's, it could happen. Like those injuries can happen to anyone, but when it's a reoccurrence of another injury, like Luke Shaw, like I won't say Dallo, because Dallo was pretty much injury-free most of last season. But like when you look at the case of who you have in front of you, and you see injury, and like it doesn't surprise me at all that Shaw's injured, and I like Luke Shaw, but it's just the constant regurgitation of Luke Shaw's injured. Luke Shaw has a small injury that's hampering him. It's just becoming a bit of a nightmare. And Stu, I want you in on this. Like, do you think it's time to bin off Luke Shaw, or do you still hold the faith in him?
Well, I think the saddest statement from what Adam mentioned was it's the same old fucking people, same old players all the time. And there's a real mental issue. You know, we were joking about your ankle earlier, and I joke about stuff like that because I played with a busted arm before. I'm not Rambo or anything like that. It's just all about football. Now, there are certain players that are weak mentally, and I think Luke Shaw, unfortunately, is one of them. However, when you go back to the injury that he suffered in Holland, the double break of the leg, not many players will come back from that. I don't know how old. Well, Deck will definitely remember the David Boost injury. When Dennis Irwin bust his leg at Old Trafford. Now, I played against David Boost a couple of weeks ago in a pre-season friendly, and he was saying it took him mentally 4 years to really kind of get over that struggle, that worry about stepping onto a football pitch again, that worry about potentially having a similar injury or any kind of injury. And of course, you have to bear in mind as well that if you are injured, a certain part of your body is injured for a certain period of time, your other appendage is overcompensating for the appendage that's injured. So you're in a bit of a no-win situation. So that when you do come back, you are getting, if you've got a quad injury, for example, it's dead easy to pick up a hamstring injury. It's dead easy to pick up a calf injury. That's on the same leg, other than what happens on the other leg or your other arm or whatever. So for me, my worry is, Adam's put it pretty eloquently, that we've got issues. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back four is likely to play at the in the Community Shield on Saturday. Look, I'm an old school guy. I see football just through my eyes, and how I feel it should be played. And maybe I'm stuck in the 70s, maybe I'm stuck in the 80s, maybe I can't quite grasp modernism or what the modern game supposedly is all about. But I don't think it's that, actually. I can't abide people who hide behind certain things, various things, and these players for me are hiding behind injuries. I've said it for the last 2 or 3 years on shows. The player has a responsibility to remain fit and in peak condition. Yeah, they're allowed to go off and have the holidays, etc., etc., etc. But as Adam pointed out, you tell me who's really played any football. And I think most fans are looking at Luke Shaw and saying, well, look, you managed to scrape your way into the final of the Euros, a couple of appearances in the quarters and semis, and now you can't scrape your way into playing a full match for Manchester United on Saturday, let alone a week on Friday when we've got Fulham. So if I was Luke Shaw, you've got to look at yourself. You've got to look at yourself in the mirror. If you're Harry Maguire, if you're Victor Lindelof, you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and think, am I where I should be? The answer to that is no. Have I done everything I can to stay fit? The answer to that will be no. No. So it's disappointing, but I'm not surprised. I agree with Adam. I'm not surprised. That's the saddest statement Adam made, really, to be fair. I'm not surprised.
Sorry to kickstart the show that way.
It's only what I was thinking. And Deck, I'll tell you, I don't sit on the fence with fuck all. I see it how it is. And I'm with you on that one. I just think it's quite sad. If I was 10 hours,
the problem is Luke Shaw shouldn't have been allowed by United to go to the Euros anyway. No, I mean, he's injured all season, hasn't played a game for us, and yet they release him to go to the Euros. He didn't get into every game because he was supposedly injured. He comes back after 2-3 games max in the summer.
Yeah,
and he's tweaked the toenail. And as Stu says, I think what's wrong is these players aren't tough. I mean, Jesus Christ, we can look at players that play through the pain barrier, and
Bruno
we've
Fernandes.
had respect. We can have respect for them. But I mean, come on. I mean, you're getting little tweaks. Stop worrying about it. Put yourself through pain. You're getting paid a couple of $100,000 a week. I mean, it's time to step up or step off. I mean, that's it. We want to have players that are going to do everything to get out on the pitch, not look for every excuse to get onto a medical treatment table. And Shaw, unfortunately, and his injury was horrific, right, at the time with the double leg break. But if he hasn't got the balls to do it now, then stay off the pitch and, I don't know, fucking take up knitting or something.
Look, I'd say retire. I'd say to Luke Shaw, retire. You know, you
Really?
utilize his strengths maybe on a coaching level or on 21s or you know, keep him around the club. I'm not saying bin him off, but you need to retire from playing because whether or not we agree with what's happening at Ineos, we all know where they are. I think they've gone into it and thought, what the fuck? When they knew they were in some kind of black hole, they just didn't know how deep it was, you know, and they're struggling to get out of it. And yeah, they're turning their tune. They don't want to be held to ransom by these clubs. I get it, but we're not even looking at a left back as far as I'm concerned. I know Mazwari can play left side as well as right side, but you've got Darragh who can do that. We're not going to promote Harry Amash yet. He had a pretty decent pre-season, but nothing you would, you know, open your eyes and think, wow, he's got to start. So if I was Luke Shaw, I'd just retire. I really want to just retire.
And it's interesting to make the point about Harry Amash, because that's actually a point I was going to make. I was going to say the fact is, Malacia, what Ten Hag says, targeting for October if there's any little setback along the way. If there isn't, I'd be very fucking surprised if I'm being honest, because it's just you hear setback after setback. And in fairness, we heard no documentation as to where he even was until March, and then we heard that he was on the mend. He was targeting the end of the season. There was a setback. So if there's no setback between now and October, and he's actually grand, I'm going to be perfectly fine with that. But
yeah, the thing is, just touch on with Malacia, mate. It wasn't actually him. The setbacks wasn't actually within his injury. It was the operation which went wrong.
Okay.
So they basically ballsed up the operation, and Manchester United went straight back with their own people watching in, the same people doing the same operation again. So really, it was sort of like a little bit of a cover up at the time, but it was an issue within the operation which caused the problem again and prolonged it. Basically doubled the recovery time, and then he had to operate again at exactly the same operation and fix the mistake that was made the first time, which kept him out even longer. So Malacia has been incredibly unfortunate, and they are doing everything right in terms of making sure that this is fully recovered and done properly. So they know that the operation the second time is done right, and now they are giving him the full treatment in terms of bringing him back the right time. He is now in the right place. It's just a case of getting fitness, strength back in legs, being able to run for a certain amount of time, sprints, things like that, because this recovery and not being match fit for well over 18 months near enough now.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take. So they are doing right. So I would actually go along with the 18-month thing. This isn't so much him himself, it's the mistake that was made. It's absolutely criminal. When I read the report on it and what was actually happening, it was like, how does this even happen? Like, and then it brings in the United medical side of it. But apparently it wasn't United's medical team at the time that did it. It was a weird one, but to break it down, the issue was within the actual original operation from the injury. It was ludicrous, but only at United, you could say.
Yeah, it's mad. And like, just to make a final note on that point, actually, because like the fact we're talking about left backs, Luke Shaw, Malacia, with the injury scenario, I will kind of bring it back to what Stu and Dick were saying there, that he shouldn't have gone to the Euros. United should have blocked the release to the Euros. If they weren't, I suppose this could be partially down to the England squad as well itself, because Harry Maguire was initially also in that squad. He was in a race to fitness. He realised he wasn't going to make it, so they dropped him off. Why didn't they drop Luke Shaw off? And I'm speaking as an Irish fella saying this, like, you have to think with your common sense as well to say, why didn't Luke Shaw get dropped off and just have another left back?
Well, you think about that as well, like you said there with England. Like, Luke Shaw had not played since February. He's not kicked a ball since the Luton game in February. And your first game back is a high-pressured, the cooker atmosphere of a knockout stage of a massive international tournament. It's not like you're easing the lad back in.
You're just throwing him straight to the deep end. Yeah,
you've literally thrown him into the worst case scenario possible, where you have to hit the ground running. Otherwise, it's going to threaten your national team's representation in the tournament. It was ludicrous. I'd have been screaming if I was Ten Hag to get Luke Shaw back home. If he wasn't ready for the group stages, he should never have been playing for England.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm just looking here. The comments are going off, and there's a lot of. It started with a lot of love for you, Adam. So I will make that point. And because, like, honestly, I was looking through them here. Oh my god. Keith, I'm sorry. Going back to my ankle injury there, Darragh like Luke Shaw always injured. Come on, man. But like honestly, thanks to everyone in the comments. I'm seeing Stephanie actually made a point that there's 12 likes. Thank you very much, lads. This is actually great for the channel. So
I take an injured Luke Shaw over Darragh any day.
Hi, you haven't seen me play.
Well, nobody's going to see you play if you're not playing with a damaged ankle, are they? Come on,
I'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. It's fine.
What's a week going to do?
Rest it.
Okay.
It's all about recovery time. Listen to Ten Hag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking in the comments, actually, I'm just after seeing here, Freddie, De Gea has the here we go to Fiorentina, lads.
Finally, someone's going to pay his wages.
That was, if I'm being honest, of all teams, Fiorentina, that's a bit out of left field, if you ask me, no, being honest.
They must be confident that they're going to get rid of Amrabat's wages to afford David De Gea.
Sorry, Julio. Damn you, Julio. Look, speaking of, I'd be more of a winger myself. And speaking of wingers, we'll talk about the depth in the squad at the wide area. We do seem to have a lot of options. Whether they're the best quality options to some people's view, one of them doesn't exactly. Sorry, two of them don't stand out to me. But who do we have as our starting right-sided winger going forward, lads? And you have to think about it. You have your choices of Ahmed, Anthony, Garnacho, or Jadon Sancho. Dick, I'll get you to start off this one because I think we could be here all night.
Well, you know, too, I'm not picking anyway. So, I mean, forget about Anthony. He took your position, left back in the dressing room. Sancho hasn't proven himself to me yet. I think Ahmed's going to have a great future. I think he's been playing well. I'm liking the way he's looking as well. But I mean, Garnacho, I don't know, will he start on Saturday? I'd nearly put Ahmed in ahead of him on Saturday because I just think he's got more game time and he's playing good at the moment. So give him his chance. Everyone seems to have got a chance ahead of Ahmed, which is ludicrous when you consider we have Anthony twirling around like a turnip on the pitch. So for me, I'd be starting Ahmed on Saturday. Yeah.
But like, what's mad though is like you consider how much we paid for Ahmed in the first place. Okay, fair enough. You're paying for potential at that point, but everyone was laughing at us for literally he only played a handful of games for Atalanta and he was being signed for what was it, 35 million or something to that effect. And we're only starting to see what he's capable of now because we're finally giving him his chance. It's ludicrous, really, when you think of it that way, because, like, I always liked what I saw in Amad Diallo when Ollie gave him a few minutes here and there. I liked what I saw, and I'm not going to, I hadn't seen 1 ounce of him, and I just said, I literally saw it, here we go, at the time we actually signed him, and I just said, who? Literally my initial reaction, because I never heard of the boy in my life. And then we kind of saw what we could potentially have gotten straight away when we went to Sunderland. And they're like, okay, you're playing in Championship League 1 kind of football. It's not United level, but it's a good start to how he presented himself at the very least. Stu, I know you're all too well going to have a better insight than me. So we'll take Anthony out of the equation because, let's be honest, not many of us are going to side on Anthony here. Anthony, not even a factor. Garnacho, Ahmed, or Sancho. What do you say?
Look, me and my lad were having a bit of a chinwag actually a few weeks ago, and we were looking at the potential incomings we were going to have. And I looked at the incomings, and we were, mulling it over a pint of Guinness, and we were talking about a few bits and pieces. And I said, well, look, I think we need a formation change this season. I think we need to go 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, 3 in the middle, 2 up top. And so I wouldn't actually, in my side, you wouldn't get Sancho, you wouldn't get Anthony, you wouldn't get Garnacho in. You could have those coming off the bench and you could change. But I want to see us do something different completely, overhaul the way that we approach games. Now, the interesting thing about that is we haven't got what we want, and the players that we've got are both injured, and Xerxes, for whatever reason, isn't going to see the light of day till the end of September, which I can't quite get my head around that one either. We bought him to play football. So ideally, I would have gone with 2 at the top, and I would have done something because, 2 at the top allows you to split the 2 centre halves and allows Bruno to play his favoured position. And then if you get Agate or whoever to sit alongside Kobe Mainu, and then Yoro, Delict and Martinez would be perfect because Yoro can play in the centre and he's brilliant at carrying the ball. And Agate is an half decent kind of like centre half, makeshift centre half. So when you're surpassing Agate, you're bringing back, and you can just open up teams a lot better, and then you can always get back into your 4-4-2 if you need to run around possession. So in answer to your question, and it doesn't kind of solve my issue, I wouldn't have played them. But for me, you would have to start with probably Ahmad, and I thought Rashford looked okay in pre-season. I don't think anybody.
I actually liked what I saw, to be honest.
In pre-season, so you'd have to start Rashford and Anthony for me. But I don't. He's probably likely to play Rashford through the middle, isn't he, on Saturday? So
that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd they would probably come in, so it'd be Garnacho and Ahmed. But I wouldn't do that this year. Last year, Adam Ortega's a match-going fan. My lad has got my ticket now. Deck, are you a match-going fan, Deck? Yeah, you are, right?
Yep.
As much as we can, anyway, yeah.
So, people want to see something different. We were too predictable last year. Any manager in the Premier League, we got Manchester United this weekend. Well, that's all right. Don't need to bother working on formation. We don't need to bother on look at how they're going to approach the game, because I know they're going to approach the game. And so, it was only individual brilliance on occasions of our players that got us over the line. So I'd like to see something completely different. But you've got to get the personnel to do that. With our current personnel, you can't do that. But if you got the personnel that we're linked with, you could actually fiddle around with it and make yourself a bit more dangerous.
And actually, just going off the comments, actually, I'll bring this to Adam here, because the fact we're talking about the different choices we have between the left, the right. I see Stephanie here, easy. Ahmed right, Garnacho left. But until we get a actual number 9, whether it be Xerxes, whether it be Highland, there's no. Well, I suppose if you put Rashford through the centre, but we always know he favours on the left. And it's interesting Stephanie brings that up, because Adam, I was thinking to myself, but sure, Garnacho was more favoured on the right last year because he played better on the right. Now, as Stu said, you're more of a match-going fan than myself, say, because myself and Deck, we get over to a few games every year. But would you agree with that? Would you say Garnacho on the left, or would you have said from last year, would you prefer to play him on the right?
No, I would have Ahmed on the right, and I would Garnacho on the left, and Sancho and Rashford can sit and wait it out behind young lads where they deserve to be playing. Nowhere near that first team. I'm still not forgiving Rashford for last season. I know some people have, and let bygones be bygones. I made a big deal about it at the time. I still make a big deal about it now. Ahmad is ahead of every single forward in this team across the board. Right now, he's the best player. And this is where Ten Hag needs to show that he is willing to change. Because if Ahmad doesn't start at this season, then everything that Ten Hag has said over pre-season about giving everyone a chance and having the right squad, and he's completely lied to the fan base on this. Because Ahmad is ahead of Garnacho for me right now in what he's done in the United shirt. Literally, he has just stood up Garnacho and Leacher in front of the whole squad. We've all seen the video on social media. Give them separate trophies. We're bringing these two up in Ten Hag's words because they're winners. We need winners in this team. And if he plays Rashford ahead of Garnacho, then he's basically just undone it all instantly. Rashford needs to earn his place back in the squad. I say it all along. The only thing that convinces a first-team player that he's not doing well enough is he sees an academy player playing in front of him. It's the biggest slap in the face in the world. If he does not come back this season, Marcus Rashford, having been left out of the England squad, and the amount that he's got away with from last season from Ten Hag and how much Ten Hag has backed him, if he doesn't come back with a bit between his teeth, when he gets off the bench, that is, because he's never a starter for me, not anymore anyway. then he's done. His career's over. His career's finished, Marcus Rashford. He needs to decide now. This is a defining moment in his whole footballing career. This is like, you don't get any lower than this. Marcus Rashford's the lowest he's ever been right now. And he needs to come back and show everybody what he's about and what he can do. And that is off the bench. Simple as. He doesn't start any of them forward.
Has to have lit a fire under him. Has to have lit a fire under him that he didn't make the Euros.
Yeah, as
because
far as
he would have seen players there not as good as him, that weren't as talented as him, but who worked harder to get a place on that team. And like Adam has said, if he doesn't turn up this season, he's done.
He's done. So it's like to go on to Sancho. Like, forget it, please. Just call me the taxi right now. The man does not belong at this football club.
Someone who finally agrees with me. I think I will give Sancho the benefit of the doubt. If he's actually willing to work, okay, I'll pander to him at the very least. I'm there like
behind everyone else.
Yeah, he's still not going to go up in my estimations until he actually proves it on the pitch, and that will go for Rashford as well, because I'll be a bit more forgiving of Rashford than yourself, Adam, and I can see why you wouldn't be as forgiving of him. But I'm still like, if we want to actually, let's say, if we actually want to sell him on, will doing anything off the bench actually hamper his price tag? Because I think it will. I don't think we'll get as much as we want from if we actually want to.
I think he's, personally, mate, I think he's a better bench player. I do. Rashford at number 9 is a disaster waiting to happen. He hasn't got the patience. He hasn't got the skill set. He hasn't got the strength. He needs space on the wing to attack and space to run into. He's a speed merchant, Marcus Rashford. And that's his one attribute. I think it's like if you've got a player running through on goal, and it's Champions League final, out of that current Manchester United side right now, which one of them forwards do you want running on that ball, clean through on goal? There's not one of them forwards you can put your faith in that's going to put that ball in the back of the net, is there? Well, there's not one of them. You're not confident that anyone's going to finish a chance. Like Marcus Rashford already thinks he's already made it at Manchester United. That's the problem he's got, and he just needs he needs knocking down a peg or two, and then realizing where he's actually playing. Like hopefully, Ineos will take away this need for managing above and below Ten Hag and what he's had to do at this football club since he's been here. And Ten Hag needs to actually produce on the pitch now and concentrate solely on that and getting something out of this team, not worry about everything else. And he needs the senior players. Like right now, you look at Manchester United's most senior player, it's Marcus Rashford. And these young lads coming through have got to look up to him. That's the example you're setting last season. He's the most senior player at this football club in terms of games. And you see what he did last season. Honestly, it's going to take a lot for me to forgive Marcus Rashford after what he did last season. I'm not as forgiving as most people. I'll admit that. But that's probably because I am probably a Mancunian and I go to every game, and I can't believe that a young academy Manchester lad would act the way that he did last season. And it still hurts now. But look, I understand the situation we're in, and everybody usually deserves a second chance. So let's see what you've got, Marcus. We're not going to sell him. And he needs to go to another level for me this season and really prove what he's about.
Now, I have a question, and Stu is going to love this because we have someone who doesn't like Marcus Rashford, and we have someone who doesn't like our former player, Anthony Martial. Lads, who's the better number 9 in the middle, Martial or Rashford?
None of them.
I can see Martial. I can see Martial. I'm calling him Martial to wake him up. I can see Deck just going red at the thought of it.
The thing is, right, none of them can play 9. I had a debate online a couple of years ago. Somebody said, Greenwood would be a future number 9. He was never going to be a number 9. He hasn't got the instinct.
No,
if you want to look at real number 9s out there that there's ever been, Ian Rush back in the day, John Aldridge, people used to ridicule him. What a striker. Robbie Fowler. Michael Owen was more pace. Ruud van Nistelrooy is absolute pinnacle of a number.
Fox in the box, what you want.
Somebody who understands what it means to play on the 12 yards from the penalty spot to the actual goal line itself, who knows how to operate in that section. He had the best pair of eyes in the Premier League at that era. And what I mean by that is he would know instantaneously prior to Beckham or Giggs curling that ball in front, and he was there all the time, whether it's front post, near post, he would know. He has this instinct. Andy Cole will tell you, you probably interviewed him, haven't you, Adam? I've interviewed him a couple of times. I think he will tell you, you can't coach that last 10% of ability inside the box. You just can't do it. You can help them get there, but you can't coach that ability.
To be the best number 9 in the world, you have to be a knobhead.
Yeah, you do.
You have to be that one-tracked arsehole that doesn't care. You want the numbers. You make sure that you're in a spot that them wide players know you're going to be in. And you have to be greedy. You have to be an arsehole. You only have to listen to what Ruud van Nistelrooy was telling Gary Neville on the overlap. He said exactly the same thing. He said, I didn't care. It's like I'd come off the game with 1-3-0 and I'd be pissed off because I didn't score. It's literally, that is what you've got in a striker. But yeah, when you're going back to like strikers who you want running through on goal, like them strikers don't exist anymore. They don't.
No,
the game's changed. It's wide forwards. It's people cutting in inverted winger style forwards. The number 9s are dead. And you've seen that in the Euros. Like, who was the out and out number 9? Like the best players on the planet right now. You've got Haaland, who you could say is the closest thing we've got to a 90s style striker in the league right now. There's no one else comes near it.
To say it, like.
Yeah,
Anthony Martial just concentrated on being a knobhead who couldn't count to 9. I mean, he's the most overrated player I've ever seen in the history of football.
Has he signed for another club yet? There's another player that was on mega bucks that's took an age to sign from release from United.
The only club he'll be at, he'll be in a golf bag. I mean, he can fuck off.
Yeah, he probably will be. But no, you're right. We don't have that number 9. Did you watch? Most people saw Seske. People were having a look, see how good he was, but he couldn't cut it as a number 9 in the Euros. You're right. The old-fashioned number 9's gone, but you can. I mean, you can't reinvent it. You can't. I mean, Deck will tell you we're old. Me and Deck are old, Adam, by the way. And I'm talking. I'm not
Scudo. I'm just going to say that.
Well, no, you're not as old as me. Nobody's fucking as old as me. But I'm used to Joe Jordan and Frank Stapleton. People who'd absolutely chuck you, the fucking keeper, to both centre halves and the ball in the back of the net. I'm used to that type of play. And I listen to people and they talk about, Guardiola invented the false 9. Did he bollocks? Alan Ball used to do that. Deck, you definitely know that. Alan Ball used to play in and around. He play a false 9. Charlton, on occasions.
We had players that would die for the. I mean, Mark Hughes would probably kick half the team into the goal just to score. I mean, upper players that would just fucking do everything for the team to win. And unfortunately, it seems to be this crop of players now are probably like society. They're a bit weak. They don't want to work too hard, but they want to get the most out of it for doing the least amount. And that's just where I think it's gone wrong.
Yeah.
No better way to put it, if you ask me. Actually, I normally have something to try and come up with after Dick says that, but I actually can't because that is actually properly spot on. I can't even deny that. It is just spot on. So, lads, do we have to talk about the game? Because I bet you have too much fun talking about all this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, do we have to talk about the game? But we have to. So, Saturday, 3:00, Wembley. Community Shield. How are we feeling towards the lads? Like, are we taking this seriously? Because it's the Community Shield is to the bit of silverware at the end of the day, but people say it's just a glorified pre-season friendly. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, there's the argument's always there, isn't it? It's still a charity shield. You can forget this bollocks about the Community Shield. It's still a charity shield. Does it mean anything? Well, yeah, it is a trophy because you've earned the right to be playing in this game. The equivalent is counted seriously in Germany and other countries. I just feel like because there's so much on the Premier League and the Champions League, it's turned into a nothing sort of trophy right now. Ten Hag's already alluded to in his press conference today, look, it's still pre-season, but it's still a trophy we want to win. He was sort of like covering both angles of the argument in one statement, Ten Hag, saying he's going to play a strongest side, but he's not going to risk players at this stage, but it's still a trophy. Of course, we want to win it. City never win it and then go on and win the league, so it shows you how seriously they take it.
That's a fair point, yeah.
And it's the last chance to really give a good run out to certain players, I feel, before the big. Like you give me a win over City or a win over Fulham, it's Fulham all day long. I don't care about losing Community Shield, but it would be nice. It's awkward for us because we're being forced into it being an important game because it's them blue noses. That's how you look at it. It's like it's big because it's United and City. That's it for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Because I was going to break the point that with the Pep once called it the English Super Cup. Like as you were saying there, like other countries would consider this to be the Super Cup of their nation, basically. Like Germany, I think Spain calls it the Spanish Super Cup as well. So like in other countries, this kind of match is taken more seriously because at the end of the day, as I made the point, it is silverware. So I mean, it's a hard one. Like Stu, Jake, what do you think? Do you think it's something to be more serious for, or would you be on the side of Adam because it's just a preseason friendly? Because as we can tell, City don't win it in the March league, so whichever one of you.
It counts towards your trophy haul. You get a medal at the end of it. So I'm calling with Adam, and I'm sure Deck's the same. We'll take care of Fulham primarily, but you want to do City. The thing is, though, you've got to turn up if you're a fringe player now and you've got an opportunity on Saturday. You got to take it. You got to turn around to Ten Hag and say, "Well, look, I'm here. I scored the win in the Community Shield, Charity Shield, whatever you want to call it. I should be playing against Fulham." Consistency and complacency don't go hand in hand. At Manchester United, we don't have consistency. We have a shitload of complacency, and that's the biggest issue for us. Any footballer gets complacent because he's picked on a regular basis will never play to his highest ability. We need players out there that want to play. Some of the lads, I thought, like I said, I'll go back to Harry Elmas. I thought he had a decent pre-season. There's a couple of young lads out there that had a pretty decent pre-season. So will any of them feature? Actually, I'd like to see them feature. Really, we've got to throw Martinez in. I would imagine. Don't particularly want to do that, but you want to get somebody who can pull De Bruyne's ponytail. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him today. He's got a ponytail now, a little pont.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's got a ponytail. Just fucking drag it as he goes past. Lovely. Do stuff like that. I'd like to see us get a bit dirtier this season and play a bit hard. So I'm not really fussed whether we win it personally, to be brutally honest with you. But, if you're a player, you're stepping out at Wembley, you want to be having the winners medal around your neck and not the losers.
Of course. And actually, I was going to say, I see the comment here, Dean, brilliant. Absolutely. It's big because it's against them. And I suppose because of our mentality of it's against City or it's against Liverpool, it means that a little bit more. And obviously, Dick, yourself, you're massively in that favour of because it's be against City, because it might have been against Liverpool or whoever, say, it means that a little bit more because you want that one up really over us.
I think it's been classed as a bigger game because it is against them. If it was against a lower team, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it. But I mean, I'd agree. If I'm given the choice between a win on Saturday or 3 points over Fulham, I'm taking the 3 points over Fulham because it's just more important. But do I want United to go out there and hockey them on Saturday? I would love nothing more than to see Martinez kick Haaland into the back of the head, grab De Bruyne by the ponytail and first to tear into him like we did in the FA Cup final. I think it'll be harder this time because we don't have the players available. But I mean, obviously we always want to beat them. But I mean, I'll be shouting them on regardless. I'll be watching it before I go to work. So I mean,
like this is the thing though. You have to think about it. Like when you look at some of the players that were like, whatever about injuries. We're missing Sofian Amrabat, who was actually pivotal in that game in the FA Cup final. So it's an interesting one because you look at some of the players then that are missing it. They're like, you're missing him. It might go one way or the other. And actually, Adam, you might be able to answer this for Stu because Stu in the comments, do we earn any money for winning it? Because obviously you win prize money for, let's say, winning the Champions League, winning FA Cup. Is there actually any prize money for it? Because that's actually something I don't know the answer to.
No, I think it takes it from its original name, being charity, doesn't it? Basically. There's nothing really in it. It's just it's one of them, like you're traveling down to London, you might as well win the game. That's about it. In terms of money, no, there's nothing in it at all for either club. It's just a pre-season game. I don't know how they would make money from this game at all if they tried to do something from the club side. It's just one of them awkward ones that, and I think this is why there is nothing really sort of bigger on it. It's like the League Cup and the FA Cup in a way. There's not enough money in it. The Charity Shield really doesn't count. You're lifting a piece of silverware up at Wembley, and that's the biggest thing of all of it. And you know what? It does sort of kickstart your season a little bit, but United got smashed 3-0 by Arsenal in a Charity Shield and then went and won the treble that season. So
that's right, yeah.
It's where we're at into. It's what's more important, walking out of Old Trafford next Friday night with 3 points in the bag and starting the season off well and actually being top of the league for once.
And Freddie puts it actually quite pointedly. Main aim, don't get any more injuries. We can't stress.
How do you play a game against City not playing full tilt? That's the problem and the worry we've got.
Problem, yeah.
You have to play full tilt, otherwise they're going to kill us. Simple as.
Yeah, that's it. You're worried, aren't you? Like, do you want to get smashed 5 or 6-0 by not going full tilt? Or do you want Martinez steamboating into the back of Haaland and then end up injuring himself? And then that is really that is doom and gloom merchant right there, isn't it? Going into the first game without Lissandro Martinez or Euro, that would send a lot of fans over the top.
No, here's the thing though. I would gladly allow Martinez to get injured steamboating into Haaland if he actually injures Haaland in the process of injuring himself. That's the only acceptable outcome there. And I suppose we'll do one last question, and it's kind of a can they, will they? Do we think City will eventually get found guilty of the 115? Dick, 115's in your name tonight. I will start with you.
I think for the good of football, they should be found guilty of these breaches. Do I think it'll happen? I mean, I work in the legal system and the thing is full of fucking loopholes from start to finish. And if anyone's going to find a loophole in it, it's going to be the team of lawyers that the City boys have in place, you know, unfortunately. The ways you can manipulate the law are extensive, you know, and
you know all too well, don't you?
Well, I do. I'm doing it a long time. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, if other teams can get found guilty of 2 breaches very quickly, but they have to announce that they're going to take 8 months to have a look at this crowd's 119 at the time. I mean, make a stand for football and punish the people that have made a balls of the system. They deserve to get found out. Am I guaranteed that it'll happen? No, definitely not. I'm a pessimist.
No, I'm just after seeing this. Have you just paid?
It's different.
That's a different thing, and so yeah,
that's a different one. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's for starting games off late.
Yeah. I knew I remember seeing the headline that they had to pay a fine for something, and I goes, if this is anything to do with some of those charges.
Don't forget, like, we haven't heard what we thought we was going to hear after City took the Premier League to court. And this is separate to the 115 charges, so we've not got that one dealt with yet. So the longer that goes on, say again, sorry, mate.
No, it was just I actually remember hearing them taking them to court. What was it in relation to again?
It was basically the sponsorship deals, how they've sort of like bumped up the sponsorships, their own sponsors within their own bracket of businesses and companies. So, for instance, Etihad Airways buying out the naming rights for over 400 million for the City of Manchester Stadium, things like that. So, their owner using his own companies to inflate sponsorship deals to balance financial fair play. Now, the Premier League brought in new rules to stop that happening, and City have said that they're just cheating them now. They're not allowing it to happen. So, yeah, they're taking the Premier League to court. If City win that one, you can pretty much throw out all 115 charges because the league comes corrupt, basically. And I don't know where we go from there. If City win, it basically destroys the Premier League.
It's madness because, like, it's just the way you're talking about how they took them to court. It actually sounds very like it's in relation to the 115 charges when you break down what it's actually in relationship, because how they've inflated everything. Like,
well, it's like that. They're saying that them rules that the Premier League have put in place aren't lawful. Basically, they're saying the rules that City are being pulled on the 115. They're not allowed to use. They're basically conning Manchester City and using them. So if they win this case, the rules that the Premier League are bringing to the 115 count for absolutely nothing. This is their get out of jail. He's basically crying out absolute guilty as charged on the 115, and this is the one shot they've got left to try and get back at it.
right.
The legal technicality that they're actually working off, and if it does come true, if they do get this through the courts, it will negate the 115 charges.
Like, I love it. Like, John here, I think City will be found guilty. The fact that a few of their staff and players are looking to get out, and it could be Pep's last season because he's been teasing, no, in fairness, since the end of last season.
Pep will be gone before this comes to a head.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
It'll be long gone.
No, there's talk. Is it the end of this year the court case debates actually start in relation to it, though? Am I right?
November.
Autumn this year it starts, and then we won't
year.
hear anything result-wise until next summer.
No, the season will be over before we hear any decision on this.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I'll start with you, Stu, for the last topic: starting 11 and score predictions. No,
Starting 11.
Defense is.
What about starting 2?
Jesus, starting 11. Fuck.
Because like you have to consider how much of our defense is actually out for this game now as well. Rephrase. They're all doubts for this game. So,
Do you know what? Right, I haven't really got a clue. I would imagine he'll go with Onana. I would imagine he'll play Dalot left, Wan-Bissaka right, Evans.
Martinez?
Probably Martinez, although he's only just come back, hasn't he? But probably Martinez. Casemiro, McTominay, Ericsson.
Oh, Jesus.
Maybe Bruno, not Ericsson. And then, fuck me. I don't know, Rashford up top, I guess, with Garnacho and Ahmed. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what he's going to do.
I'll give you my note because I'm kind of working off of yours there. Like, the defense is probably the same. Like, I want to see what Collier's like, and like I won't throw him straight into the deep end, but at the same time, no, like, is it too early to throw a copy back in?
You what? Sorry.
Is it too early, do you think, to throw a copy back in?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't play him. I would leave him till Friday. Look, I would leave Martinez. I'm kind of with Adam and Deck on this, really. I'm not really asked about Saturday, if I'm being honest. Although it does count your trophy count, I'm not really asked. And I would have Martinez do a full week worth of training. There's a very good chance, Adam might be able to tell us more, there's a very good chance you may see De Ligt come in over the weekend. And so you're going to want to try and pair those up somehow. And you don't want an injured Martinez to do that. I would maybe chuck Casemiro in, maybe. I just don't know. I just don't know. And I'm kind of a little bit. Well, my lad's going, obviously, and he's really excited about it. I'm like, I've been to loads of charity shields, and it just they're flat, and I just don't know what he'll do. Really, it's the first time ever that I couldn't pick a starting 11. Because I just don't know what he'll do. It's quite sad. Luckily for us, Anthony's at the Olympics, isn't he? Or was at the Olympics. So that's.
Oh yeah, he's in the diving. Yeah, I saw.
Yes, he's in the Brazil diving squad, isn't he? I think did they win?
Synchronized diving. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they win?
He's on that gymnastic team, the floor bit in there, doing his Ferris wheel spins, his 360s. That's where he is.
Once he doesn't bring his ribbon back with him from his routine, we'll be okay.
Well, he uses his left leg as his fucking ribbon, doesn't he? Because all he does is dick about with it. What a time.
But you know what, though? Like, if we're looking at what we're seeing in pre-season, I don't think he's going to start Garnacho. I actually think it's going to be Sancho on the left, Ahmad on the right, and probably Rashford in the middle.
Well, unfortunately, that says it all, doesn't it?
Anyone care to
Vice
disagree?
versa. Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah,
you could have Rashford on the left and Sancho through the middle.
Yeah.
I think he will play Bruno Fernandes because Bruno
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah.
The back four, like there are concerns over Wan-Bissaka as well. So you could be looking at Johnny Evans will play.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you could see Casemiro in midfield in front of Scott McTominay at centre back, or vice versa. He's always played him there. I don't know if he'll risk Leacher. He has said that he is considering Leacher for the game, but whether that's off the bench. But let's not forget, this is pre-season as well, according to Ten Hag, and a lot of these players need game time before. And there's no more games now until we actually kick off against Fulham. So is it better to actually get some minutes in the legs of Mainu, in the legs of Garnacho, Leacher, Bruno, Dalot? I mean, we know that the Portuguese will just run forever for you, won't they? They never get injured. Like, one good thing we have got is like Dalot and Bruno. We can always rely on them to look after themselves. But could we see Hamas? I think we will at some point. Don't expect much.
Yeah, I
I
think we'll
I think the same with Collier, by the way. I quite like Collier.
Yeah, possibly.
Looks a really good play. He really does. And some of the lads are great, but we're all seasoned fans of this club, and we're all kind of like in and ahhing for the first time in a long time who you can actually play. That's really bad for a club of our stature. Really bad.
I think this is the first time, like even going into preseason friendlies, you kind of have an idea as to who will probably start and who will probably be switched around at half time. Even now, I'm there like, I actually couldn't tell you. I'm basically going off my starting 11 off of what Stu was saying, and I just kind of made a few adjustments because I wouldn't have thought of Eric. Like, I know you said Bruno after, but I was there like, Eric said, I goes, oh, do we really have to play him now? Are we forgetting about Mason Mount, lads?
Well, I forgot about him all last season. I mean, he's another one of those that apparently isn't injured. So there you go. But if he's not injured, I forgot we had him. So that just sums that up, doesn't it?
Sums up and wraps it up. I think, lads, we'll wrap it up there for tonight. Adam, thanks a million for coming on. It's actually been great. First time I ever interacted with you, if I'm being honest. Lovely chatting with you, sound fella. Jake, Stu, pleasure as always. And I think that's where we'll leave it now. Lads, for everyone in the comments, thank you so much for being there with us tonight. It was actually a great whole night. And look, we'll be back.
Just before you go, Darragh, you go, it's worth mentioning to everybody out there, please stay safe. Deku in particular, stay safe. It's fucking sad out there at the moment for everybody. So just stay safe, avoid the dickheads, and just get on with your lives. But stay safe. And you stay safe, Deck, for fuck's sake.
Don't fear that man anyway.
No fucking fear of me.
No, I know, but it's fucking bollocks, isn't it?
Oh, it really is.
It's fucking crazy.
So yeah, everyone in the comments,
cheers, lads.
Thanks for being there, and have a good night, guys.